I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars so much. It is incredible that I really do not know a life without Star Wars. And it is incredible after all these 40 plus years later that we're all 2 months away from the final installment of the Skywalker saga and these 9 films. I am here to talk about in this special bonus podcast the Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker final trailer and give you just my gut reaction. Kind of a shot by shot, but not really. I'm really just going to dive into my instinctive reactions of what I took away, what I am taking away from this trailer, and I really don't want to waste any more time. Let's get right to it.
It's an instinct. A feeling. The Force brought us together. We're not alone. Good people will fight if we lead them.
People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
But I do.
Long have I waited. And now you're coming together. Is your undoing.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir. At my friends.
Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. Your destiny. The Force will be with you.
Always.
Nothing will stand in our way.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I will finish what you started.
Who are you? I'm no one. There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
The Force. It's calling to you.
Nerd Road.
Just let it in.
Watching this trailer for the first time, it's not really all that unlike watching these films for me for the first time. It's a little overwhelming, and it takes time to really absorb and break down and get to the heart of the emotions that you're feeling. Star Wars is an emotional experience for me. It always will be. And jumping way ahead to a conversation that we'll be having down the road, something that I talked about with Drew and Sam on the weekly radio show that I do here on Twin Cities News Talk in Minneapolis, was, Disney and Lucasfilm have a problem doing that thing with my fingers on their hands. That problem is they have to start over because we've got 9 movies of mythology that are culminating in this final installment that looks to be incredible from every single angle. And they're going to have to start all over again and build a brand new mythology. I wish I could be a part of that. I mean, it's a problem, but what a great problem to have. Because based off of this trailer and based off of what I know, and I'll keep it spoiler-free, we'll just stick to the trailer for the sake of this podcast. I'll get into a little bit more of the spoiler stuff that has been somewhat confirmed by the trailer. We'll do that in the normal weekday show. This is, or weekend show. Weekly show. That's the word I'm trying to land on. I'm sorry I'm giddy. I just spent time going through the trailer a couple times and writing down a bunch of instinctive reactions of things that I wanted to share with you, and I'm through the moon excited. But Disney's going to have to, once this is over, they're going to have to figure out, okay, and be brave enough to start a new saga and build on the rules that we know of the Star Wars universe, but new characters and all new mythology, so that eventually we can all be at this place again that we are at right now. Yesterday was a big day. It's a big day for hardcore Star Wars fans like me and like you. Not only do we have to get, our tickets to this event, but we're going to get new footage. We're going to get the poster. The poster looks incredible, different. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it on this particular show, but the poster looks great. I love it. Can't wait to get a copy of it. Like it better than the Force Awakens one. Not quite as much as The Last Jedi, but the aesthetic on it really suits this story. What we've seen so far of it really well. It looks fantastic, and this trailer is just incredible. So again, I'll get into my thoughts here in just a moment. But yesterday was a big day, and it's kind of a stressful day. I went to work, as I normally do, and I came home and did what I needed to do, and kind of got myself ready for the evening, waiting for the tickets to go on sale. That was a bit of a debacle. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but after purchasing tickets for like at least 7 shows between the wife and I, trying to make sure we locked in the tickets that we needed to lock in, because I have my father and stepmom coming to visit for opening night on the 19th, and I had to make sure I got my tickets for that day. I got tickets for 3 days in a row, and once we got through that, then it was waiting for the trailer to come and drop, and the family all gathered down in the main room in front of the biggest TV we got, and we all watched it together, and it was an amazing experience. Watched it twice, and listened to my son Kyle, my 12-year-old, as he kind of went through on the second round and kind of gave his thoughts on what he thought was going on. I was tired. I mean, it was a couple hours past my bedtime. So I went through my normal cycle that I've gone through for all these movies. And certainly the saga films. But that is, I got to do an arc. I do my day, and then it peaks with the tickets and the trailer, and then I have to kind of come back down off my high and eventually get myself to sleep, which I did. I was able to go and record a blast, which you've probably had a chance to listen to if you're subscribing to the podcast. A quick 4-minute just commentary on my initial instinctive reaction to watching the trailer last night, knowing I wouldn't have the opportunity to sit down and talk to you until right now. But I want to get into it. And all I've done is I've written down, as I watched the trailer and paused it, just some gut reactions that I have to the visuals. Okay, everybody's doing trailer breakdowns. This is kind of a trailer breakdown, but quite honestly, this is more of these are the things that impacted me. These are the things that affected me, and I'm here for all of it. We'll have plenty of time between now and the release date to talk about this trailer. I definitely want to hear from you. I absolutely want your thoughts. There will be no listener feedback on this show today. I'm just going to stick to my instinctive reaction to what we saw in the trailer and what it all means to me, and I'll compile all of your emails to TalkShowNerd@gmail.com and also your comments on YouTube, and we'll spend an abundance of time this weekend on the regular weekly show breaking down your thoughts. But I want to share some of mine with you. I love this trailer. And I guess that's not a huge surprise, but I look at it from a standpoint of, are these scenes that I want to see, right? And maybe that sounds like it's a given, right? Well, but it's not always the case. That's not always the case. Watching the trailer for The Force Awakens, there were some things in there that looked interesting, but didn't really, compel me to go, ooh, I can't wait to see that. I've mentioned many times that in the lead up to The Last Jedi, knowing that we were going to be having this casino sequence with Finn. Thought for a while it was going to be Poe. There were rumors going around that Luke was going to be involved, and I was like, okay, that'll be interesting, but it wasn't anything that I was clamoring for whatever reason. And it could just be because it's the final movie of the saga. That could be the reason why. I don't care, because my feelings are genuine. I'm here for all of it. Every single one of the scenes in this trailer, I am desperate to see how it goes and it plays out. And look, that starts off with the opening shot. And we'll just work through in order, and I'm going to share with you my thoughts and feelings. And again, as I'm rambling here, I hope you're enjoying it. Feel free to, message me on YouTube or email me, TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. But we get the opening montage of Rey training. We're seeing sort of an extended sequence. She's dropping a helmet that looks very much like one of the helmets you would find on Endor. She's doing some training. At one point in time, she leaps a chasm to which there's a clever camera juxtaposition, right? A change of scene where she's jumping inside of the remains of the Death Star 2. I assume this is after her altercation with Kylo Ren, or maybe in between. We'll get into a little bit more of that later on. But I want to see this training sequence. I want to see Rey working with her lightsaber. I love that moment in The Last Jedi on Ahch-To where she's doing that. We see the rebels joining forces. They look to be underneath a ship, and I'm pretty sure, because we get that shot of the Tantive 4 flying overhead of this jungle, and that looks incredible. The cinematography work and the way that these shots are lined up look amazing to me. And that shot, for as much as I love vehicles, and we'll get to that shot, by the way, the one that I went nuts over yesterday that came out in one of the TV spots. But the shot of the Tantive 4 flying over the tops from the ground, flying over the tops of those jungle trees, just looks incredible. And it looks like we get a shot of the Resistance, the rebels, and they appear to be perhaps underneath that ship. You can see the landing gear, leg of a ship there. Then we get into some of this dialogue. And I really, all the dialogue of the trailer has really started to grow on me and has sort of, I see it through a different lens than when I first watched it. I mean, it's been less than 24 hours. When I first heard it, I kind of just glossed over it. And the more that I've had the opportunity to go and listen to the dialogue, the more impactful it is. But you get Rey saying, and I may get some of this wrong. Again, I was just kind of jotting this down. But people keep telling me they know me. No one does. And she's looking angry, standing there waiting for Kylo Ren to emerge from the mist, which is, many people have pointed this out, but if you start comparing some of these shots to Darcy and Pride and Prejudice, it's like they're lifted from one another. I think a lot of that's just coincidence, maybe not. You get a sloppy, wet Kylo Ren walking out of the mist doing an interesting move, sort of reverse move with his lightsaber, to which he says, when she says, people keep telling me they know me, no one does. And then Kylo Ren says, but I do. There's a meta thing going on with what Rey said. I'm of the opinion, this is not spoilers, this is just my opinion, I don't have any. I think that I think it was put in the trailer to signify on a meta level to the audience, hey, we're getting into Rey's parentage. J.J. Abrams hasn't hidden that fact. I also think that perhaps we're at a point in the movie where Rey knows what her lineage is at this point in time and is rejecting it. Maybe she doesn't like what she's heard. And people think they know me, but they don't. And here's this person who you have this deep connection with, finger touching loving, who's emerging from the shadows, and probably takes place at a different part of the movie, right? But the shot that we're seeing, emerging from the shadows, is saying, but I do, right? It's an extension of what was said in The Last Jedi. You come from nothing, you're nothing, but not to me. The Kylo Ren Ben Solo that we're going to see in The Rise of Skywalker, I think, is going to be one who will have dropped that cruelness. Because it was cruel to a certain extent, what he said, right? You come from nothing, you're nothing, but not to me. He was trying to get something. I think what we're going to see from Kylo Ren is an individual the son of Han and Leia, realizing the error of his ways, conflicted no more. He must now go out and prove himself to this girl. He realizes what he has to do now, and that he has done wrong by her, obviously done wrong by his parents, but she's the one left, if you will, that he can go and do right by. There's a lot going on there, and to me, these are very deliberate things signaling, hey guys, just like Daisy Ridley said, JJ's going to deal with the Raylo situation. With the Delio. With the Raylo Delio. That's what I meant to say. I put them all together. Raylo. Wasn't he in Goodfellas? Okay. Bad, dumb dad joke. All right. Now we get into a couple of really cool shots. The TIE fighters heading toward Spacicle Island. Looks incredible. Interesting thing nobody's noticed yet. It looks like at the top, and I have the screen grabs here. I'm going to scroll through. I have Imager up, and it has all the screen captures from the trailer. Yeah, and I haven't mentioned the fact that you see Connix, and you see the Dominic Monaghan character as resistance fighters, and you see Rose. And you see the Orbaks in the background. We'll get to that towards the end of the trailer, but I assume this is towards the end of the film and the battle. They brought Orbaks with them from whatever planet they find Janna on, and they end up running on the tops of Star Destroyers. Are you kidding me? Sorry. Okay. So I'm scrolling through. Hey, there's Wethead Kylo Ren. Yeah, so you get to this space island shot. And it just looks amazing. A lot of people keep pointing to. Okay, and I got confirmation of what I was looking for. This is an island in space. It's a big asteroid apparently in space. A lot of people are of the opinion that there is a Star Destroyer inside of that. Right? I don't quite see it yet. I could be wrong. I know we do get that amazing shot of a Star Destroyer coming out of the ice. That could be all a part of this. I just love the visual. The thing that I find fascinating about this, though, and I'm not sure how this is going to work in sort of space terms, I'm very curious to see how they rectify this floating block of ice, this Spacicle Island, when it comes to gravity and oxygen. But if you look at the tips of the berg in space, you can see these formations of like clouds coming off the top, like if it was the top of Mount Everest and wind wisping snow off the very peaks. It's just the shot is incredible, and you get just what is this? A dozen TIE fighters heading towards it. It's just amazing. All right, then we get the shot of the Emperor's throne. For those that don't know, somebody has pointed this out on Reddit. This Emperor's throne with the 8 spikes sticking up the back. That's actually taken from old Ralph McQuarrie throne art back from Return of the Jedi. Just an incredible visual. And can't wait to see what Palps looks like. Sort of, you saw at the end of the trailer, he's in some sort of gear, mechanized, and this may play into potentially, what is he going to look like compared to what he looked like before? Will there be a resurgence in him? Then we get the shot of the Star Destroyer coming out of the ice, and then a shot that I never in my that I only dreamed of, right? A shot that when I saw the teaser that had 3 different shots in it from ESPN yesterday that they released online as a teaser to the trailer, when I saw this shot of the Millennium Falcon swooping in with hundreds of spaceships behind him, I was 5 years old again. I'm not kidding. No shot in Star Wars since I was a kid, since I was a little kid back in 1977 when my father took me to go see A New Hope, probably before it was even labeled A New Hope, at a theater in Rosemead, and I could be wrong. I'm fairly certain it was Rosemead. I'm sure if my father listens to this, he'll correct me, but that's what my recollection is. I remember this tiny theater, right? Didn't have stadium seating back then. It was just sort of raised, so sort of at an angle. And I remember the smallish screen. I don't remember much being 5 years old. I remember the trench run, absolutely. I remember Darth Vader, just flashes of images. I remember what I felt walking out of the theater that day. I mean, it changed my life. I've said it many times. I was a fan of Star Wars before I was a fan of anything else at all. The shot of all these ships together and the Millennium Falcon leading the charge, that's a dream of mine. It's kind of funny because I had really intended to do something like this eventually in a book, and I may still as an homage. I'm a little bit jealous they did it first, but it was always just a dream fantasy of mine to just have hundreds of ships engaged in this massive battle, and that's what we're getting in this movie. We know that there's hundreds of those older version Star Destroyers. We see it later in the trailer that are going to square off against these guys. You got Orbaks running on the tops of them. It looks like that this will be some kind of space battle, but it's going to have some atmosphere, obviously, to it, given the fact that they're outside of these ships and they're running on these creatures. The scale and scope of this movie, because it needs to be, is massive. I always wondered, how are they going to go out? How big is this film going to be? There's a funny clip from Rick McCallum back from the prequel days when he's describing one of the prequel movies, talking about how dense it is. And I'm currently in the middle of my rewatch of the prequels and of all the films in chronological order leading up to the rise of Skywalker. And there is obviously a very distinct difference between the prequels and the original trilogy. The original trilogy is special and unique and timeless in and of itself, but because of the constraints of the special effects at the time, you could only do so much. And George Lucas and Richard Marquand at the end of Return of the Jedi did what they could, having to use physical elements and physical models to create this massive space battle. And when it comes to the rise of Skywalker, given what we've had so far in the sequel trilogy, your head goes, how do you make this big enough to where it matches and it fits? And oh my gosh, have they done it. You can go, I mean, it reminds me when you go back and, if you go back and think about some of the commentary around Rogue One, I remember when we started getting some of the images from the space battle from Rogue One, and everyone kind of going, well, you got to be careful. You can't really outdo, what happened with the Death Star, because that's the next movie. And I don't know how much the directors actually think of that. I thought that Rogue One did a really, really good job of creating a really epic, amazing space battle above Scarif, but still keeping that battle on the Death Star, which is still to this day my favorite space battle ever. I just think that whole end scene in the special edition from A New Hope is incredible. It's incredible in its simplicity. It's just a single battle. You've got the Death Star, you got TIE fighters, you got X-Wings, you got Y-Wings, and they're going at it. I absolutely love that. But getting back to the Rise of Skywalker, it was just like you pulled out all the stops, JJ, and I am here for it in every possible way. This shot is the shot of my dreams, and one day I'm going to get a poster of this as big as I can and hang it on my wall, because I'm looking at it now and I can't believe what I'm looking at. And I know that sounds ridiculous, and I know it sounds silly, and everything's relative. It's just a movie. But again, as a lifelong Star Wars fan, to see something that I've only dreamed of come to fruition is incredible to me. Moving through the trailer, you get the further lines from Palpatine. Now your coming together is your undoing. I can't wait to see how this plays out, right? Because it's not going to go good for Palpatine, right? And he's wrong in that statement. It's actually going to be, right? This is not spoilers. It's just my guessing. You got to assume we're going to have a happy ending. But Palpatine saying, now your coming together is your undoing. It's going to be the opposite of that. And again, I'm here for it in every single way. Right. It's interesting, too. There's a quick shot here that not a lot of people are talking about. There's a shot of a Star Destroyer and a massive explosion off to the right. Really, really super quick. It's right in between the shot of the ships, and then you get a further shot of Rey and Kylo Ren dueling on the Death Star 2 wreckage. And actually, you get a shot. I thought this was interesting. There's a quick shot of Finn running along the Death Star wreckage. So they're obviously there as well. So I'm interested to see when that plays out. Don't know when it happens in the movie, because if you look at the shot of Rey alone on the water on that watercraft heading towards the Death Star 2, she's by herself. If you pause that shot, which just, I mean, again, every single one of the shots in this film is incredible. I want to see all of it. There's nothing that I'm not looking forward to. But that shot of her alone on that craft in the water, it's absolutely amazing. And then we get to the middle part of the trailer. And if you've never listened to this before, track it down. The Cracked podcast. Cracked is a comedy website. Used to be a comedy magazine, a humor magazine when I was a kid growing up. But on the website, cracked.com, Cracked does podcasts, and the podcasts used to be amazing. They're not as good anymore. There was a whole different crew that used to be working about 5 years ago that did amazing podcasts. But they did one particular podcast where they broke down movies, and they chronicled successful movies and the patterns that they follow. And one of the patterns that successful movies follows is, especially when you keep to 120 minutes, is at the 1 hour mark, you get this point of no return. And if you look at any of the big movies, you look at A New Hope, you look at Empire Strikes Back, you look at Raiders of the Lost Ark, on and on and on and on and on. You'll see that right at that 1 hour mark, something significant happens in the story that ends up being the point of no return. Okay. And oddly, The Last Jedi being at 2 hours and 25 minutes, it has been confirmed that The Rise of Skywalker is going to be 2 hours and 35 minutes. So it will be the longest Star Wars movie ever. Oddly, if you watch the Last Jedi, it doesn't adhere specifically to that particular formula. And one of the things they point out in that Cracked podcast is that a lot of times those movies that don't adhere to that, they end up having some controversy surrounding them because we're so accustomed to certain things happening in a certain way in films. I have no idea if that has anything to do with any of the backlash. I just thought it was interesting. My whole point in this is that the trailer that we're watching here kind of does the same thing. And I'm of the opinion that this moment with C-3PO, where he is spoken to by Poe, and Poe says, hey, what's going on? And C-3PO does this, I'm just taking one last look at my friends. Another meta moment. It brought tears to my eyes when I watched it. Something is, well, I know what, but I won't spoil it. Something is happening to C-3PO here, and it's not going to be good. And that was as much for him in the movie as it was for us, the audience. One last look at our friends. Then the whole trailer flips on its head. We go from this is what we're worried about, from Palpatine speaking in the background, to this feeling of uplifting hope as the music begins to soar. You hear Luke, saying, confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. I don't know the last time I got goosebumps, apart from when I saw the shot of all the hundreds of spaceships, and certainly not from some dialogue. That dialogue, confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. Yes. I remember as a kid in Return to the Jedi, and again, these are recurring themes that I bring about often, but they matter to me. When I was a kid growing up, it was incredibly meaningful to me that Luke had to go and deal with this father that ended up being the bad guy, right? I've always been close with my dad, and my dad's not a bad guy by any. He's the furthest thing from Darth Vader as possible, way more closer to Obi-Wan Kenobi with a much better sense of humor. Certainly as a mentor. But I just remember, having a good relationship with my dad and thinking as a kid how difficult that must be for Luke Skywalker to have to go in and deal with this. And then you get to Return of the Jedi, and it was very specific. When I watched that movie, I knew this is what had to happen. Didn't have social media, didn't have anybody to push back against it. As a kid, my mind took literally what Obi-Wan Kenobi said, and that was, you have to face Vader again. This movie's not going to end. There's not going to be a resolution until Luke goes and faces Obi-Wan, or faces Darth Vader again. And that's why that confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi resonated so much with me when I heard Luke say it. All right, I need to back up for just a second because I realized I didn't explain that shot that was in between before Rey on her watercraft looking incredible. So this particular shot that I mentioned that happens in passing, you got to off to the left is a Star Destroyer, clearly a Star Destroyer, and then you get this massive explosion off to the right. Seems really random. It's like, what? You know, is that the end of the movie? No, what I think that is I think that is the destruction of, and I don't, again, this is not, I'm not putting anything in here that I know are spoilers. This is all just guesses on my part, so don't worry. Again, I'll take care of that after listener feedback on this weekend show. But that shot of the Star Destroyer and the big explosion in space, my guess is that in the special look when we get the shot of the laser hitting the snow planet, I think this is the aftermath of that. I think this is a Sith Star Destroyer proving how powerful it is, and the weapon it has on board is powerful enough to destroy an entire planet. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. And then we get the shot of C-3PO and R2-D2 and his saying that, you know, I want to take one last look at my friends. The one shot, too, that's pretty epic in here that I love, I guess I am doing a shot-by-shot breakdown, aren't I? When you watch it again, right after the scene, right after it says this Christmas, you get this this shot of Chewie, Finn, and Poe running down what looks to be a First Order hallway, and all you see is them running at the frame, and then stormtroopers are dropping into frame. You're not seeing them being hit. You're actually seeing them fall into frame. It's just, I mean, again, the visuals in this are absolutely incredible. We also get this shot of what looks to be a battered Kylo Ren looking back over his shoulder with just a little bit of light on his eye. And I think a lot of this is colored in such a way to hide that he's been through some stuff and he's dealing with it. And then we get down to the last sort of shots of this trailer, and the Orbaks running across the tops of Star Destroyers. Whatever, man. I love the shot in The Last Jedi of the Fathiers when they break free from the racetrack and they go into the infield and then they go crashing into the casino. That shot, that panning shot of them running sideways into the infield before they go into the building, is just incredible. And I love this image of our heroes and Janna and Finn and others on the backs of these Orbaks running across a Star Destroyer. We get the face-off shot between Kylo Ren and Rey in the throne room of the Star Destroyer of the Death Star 2. Looking at the picture right now, Kylo Ren doesn't have his lightsaber ignited. Rey does, but Kylo don't. That's interesting. Also, we get another side shot of the Orbaks on the Star Destroyer, and they're actually running across a First Order Star Destroyer. My buddy Zach over at Knights of Vader sent me this. He's like, "Are they running across?" Because all the other Star Destroyers look like the old original trilogy SDs. This is definitely a First Order Star Destroyer they're running across. There's an amazing shot of a Y-wing spinning upwards, heading towards the massive gun underneath one of these Star Destroyers. Could be Zori Bliss, who I actually missed in the C-3PO scene the first time around. I didn't realize she was standing there off to the side. But it's firing on the weapon underneath this Star Destroyer. We get the line, too, the saga will end. There's one other line that popped up on screen, right, when they do the words up on the screen. And that was the story lives forever. I just, again, was just like, oh my gosh. It just hit me right in the feels. The story lives forever. This is all coming to a conclusion. And it's so weird to say this. I mean, obviously I want to see the movie, but I can't wait till it's all done. We're going to be able to enjoy this for years to come. I'm actually less bothered. Like, I was kind of bothered at how long we had to wait for the next Star Wars movie. The reviews on The Mandalorian have been fantastic so far. Everyone's just been raving, right, so far about The Mandalorian and saying great things about it. So I'm really looking forward to that in the next few weeks. But there was a part of me that was concerned about, and I was like, no, this is bothered, right? We got to wait so long for another Star Wars movie. I'm at peace with that now, man. You know, we're going to have so much great TV content, and then we're going to have this entire 9-movie series. And really, it's more than that, because, you know, with Solo and Rogue One in there between episode 3 and 4, they fit right in. You know, when I'm doing my chronological watch, I'm including that. I'm gonna go Revenge of the Sith, and then I'm going to Solo, and then I'm gonna go into Rogue One, and then A New Hope. We got these amazing films that we get to live with, and so much more than I ever could have dreamed after Return of the Jedi came out. So much more than I ever could have dreamed after Revenge of the Sith came out. So I'm looking forward to this saga being completed and having all of it, and just being able to enjoy it, and continuing to do this podcast and talk to you guys. We get this shot, too, that's causing quite a bit of stir, and does nothing to help with my what in the Sam heck is going on with Kylo Ren's helmet. But this shot inside what looks to be like Bespin, right? That's what the background looks like. The white background, the buildings on the outside. I don't see anybody really landing on whether or not it is or isn't, or what this location is. We've talked quite a bit about the Force Flash fights. My speculation is this is a part of that. This is not a spoiler. We've talked about this quite a bit on the show. But they're smashing the burnt helmet of Vader in the middle of fighting, and Kylo Ren's got his helmet on. Again, what's interesting about it, too, is that Kylo Ren's got his saber ignited. Rey's got her saber ignited. They both sort of take out whatever the helmet is resting on. And again, I'm guessing it looks like the charred remains of Vader. But Rey also has a dagger in her hand, and I'll save that for the commentary because I know what that is. But she also has got the lightsaber and a dagger in her hand. But that shot just looks amazing as well. We get a few more shots of the battle going on, and some of the space battle, and what we can expect. And again, I was legitimately, well, concerned's not the right word. I was very curious to know how they were going to wrap this up when it came to a space battle without doing anything they've done before. And I'm so impressed with the fact that they've done something different. For as much as I want an open space battle, I am totally fine, and I am here for it. I'm going to keep saying it for what it is they've created here. Hundreds of resistance ships battling against hundreds of Star Destroyers in some weird sort of hybrid atmospheric space. Yeah, okay, JJ, you did good. I'm down with it. This is different and unique. And then we get to the end of the trailer, and we get Rey facing camera, and you hear looking very concerned with her lightsaber ignited, and facing off against Palpatine, who obviously is in some sort of chair. Looks like he's got some things attached to him. We just saw like a quarter of him off to the side. And then you hear the voices of Luke and Leia in the background. The Force will be with you. And then Leia wraps up saying always. It's just incredible. I don't know what else to say. I had really, really high expectations. Those expectations I had thought. My expectations were that we would get something in this trailer a little bit more jarring, something to go, kind of akin to the Rey, the dark Rey image that we got from the D23 special look. But I am completely okay with the fact that we didn't. I think Disney, Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams, everybody involved, they know what they have. And they know that this is an event film that is more meaningful than even the individuals when it comes to the MCU. It's different. I don't have any... I don't think that The Rise of Skywalker is going to beat Endgame. I don't care if it does. But I am of the opinion that Star Wars is a lot more meaningful to more people than the Marvel Cinematic Universe is. And maybe that's an unfair comparison, but people are going to be here for this. The end of this saga needs to be memorable. It needs to be emotional. It needs to be impactful. It's important not just for the series, not just for the sequel trilogy, but for the future of Star Wars. Disney is looking at this movie and is going to have to decide where they go from here. And my guess is, and I spent a bunch of time talking about this after the show this week, but my guess is that Disney's going to realize, okay, we need to capitalize and make sure that we focus on the mythology part of Star Wars. This is not your standard fun fare that we can just pump out a bunch of movies about random characters, even though they may be great, and I'll go and watch them and buy the Blu-rays and watch them over and over again. No, the lasting legacy of Star Wars and what we fans, you and me, grab onto and hold so dear, it is that mythology. George Lucas knew that. George Lucas knew that the power of myth, and that Joseph Campbell and his works and looking back at those old tales from so long ago were going to be crucial in crafting the hero's journey story with the archetypes that so many of us had grown up with, but in a different in a different type of story, in a science fiction fantasy story in a galaxy far, far away. That's what Disney has to stick to. They have to be brave enough to launch a new series of films with new characters and a strong story and build new mythology, knowing that first movie is going to be a tough sell, but if you do it right, just like MCU did with Iron Man, then that's how you're going to keep Star Wars around forever. I trust the content creators in what they've done so far, and I don't have any doubt this movie is going to be fantastic. I don't have any doubt because I'm a big fan of J.J. Abrams. I don't have any doubt because of what I've seen so far, and I don't have any doubt because I've read most of the spoilers that seem to be coming true, and I am down with this storyline. I'm so excited, guys. I just can you tell, right? And I'm so inspired too. I won't do a big hard push for my books. The podcast helps in me for selling my books. For those that don't know, if this is the first time you're listening, I am an author. I've written 2 of the first books in what is starting off as a trilogy, but will be a series of books. They're called EMBARK. EMBARK Book 1 and EMBARK Treasure in Darkness Book 2. Both those books are available on Amazon in ebook, paperback, and audiobook narrated by me. If you are obviously a Star Wars fan, a science fiction fan, and a reader, please go and check them out. It's the only way that I ask that you support this show is by going to Amazon.com and searching for Jon Justice and picking up a copy of the book for you or a friend. You can get the ebook right now for EMBARK Book 1 for just 99 cents and $2.99 for the ebook for Treasure in Darkness. So they are completely affordable. They're a lot of fun. The reviews have been great. But I'm so excited for this film that I'm completely inspired, and I'm doing a ton of writing just because of what I've seen and how hyped I am for this movie. It really does feel inspirational, and I cannot wait to see this film. I really am looking forward to this movie more than I've looked forward to any Star Wars film that I can imagine. And I really didn't think that I would I could be any more excited than I was for The Force Awakens, but holy cow, can I not wait for this movie. I really feel like it has the potential to be my favorite all-time Star Wars movie ever, and that's going to be a tough one to pull based off of how much I love The Last Jedi, but, good luck to you, J.J. Abrams. All right, I'm done geeking out over this. I hope you enjoyed the show. I know a lot of you were looking forward to it, and I've had a couple of actually, you know what? I'll share with you just a couple of emails that I've received in the past 24 hours.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
So I did receive a couple of emails again in the past 24 hours, so I'll share them just with you briefly, and then we'll do all the listener feedback last week. Friend of the show, Disney Desi, says, Rey saw Ben's future as clear as she saw Luke in person, and that future was in the light. It certainly wasn't dead and not redeemed. Misconduct 1, also a friend of the show. I'm really excited for this movie, ! It looks beautiful. The story looks epic, and OMG, everyone keeps saying they know me. No one does. but I do. John, I'll live on those lines for all eternity. Thank you, Misconduct. Jinjin says this, love the trailer, and it certainly hints that Reylo is happening. Purple hearts and heart eyes, happy emoji face. Is that how you describe that? Pub Film sends this. Honestly, I was kind of underwhelmed. Aside from the 3PO moment, it didn't really impact me. It was visually stunning, though. It is just a trailer. I am not any more or less excited than I was before. Pub Film, thank you for emailing. Friend of the show, Jennifer Oliver, says just ... wow, period. Thank you, Jennifer. I echo that. Enfys Nest says this. It was just so hopeful, such an uplifting trailer. I love it. The cinematography looks fabulous. R.S. Maloney says this. This trailer is so whack. They messed up this trilogy. Delete. I think everybody knows how I feel. Whatever. Ashley Bocher says this. Beautiful, awesome lead into it. I had my whole family, except one who didn't want to be spoiled going into the theater, gathered to see it. Willingly watched football to see the trailer. So many questions. Who is shooting at Rose? Which scenes comes in which order, counting down the hours. All right, so there's a sample of... I got a lot of listener feedback from last week's show, and again, we're going to do a really big show coming up this weekend. Huge show. It'll take as long as it takes, and this already went longer than I expected today. So email me, talkshownerd@gmail.com. Drop me a comment on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here for this. I hope you enjoyed it. I really, really do. I love doing the show, and it really is. It's cathartic. And I love just being able to express my fandom, and I so appreciate when you guys write in and your support of my attempt to be a successful author. Again, please go to Amazon.com, and if you haven't yet, purchase yourself a copy of EMBARK Book 1 and EMBARK Book 2, Treasure in Darkness. I am hard at work at Book 3. But I'm really, really happy with how they're shaping up, and I'm so inspired by what I've seen so far of this movie. All right, so a few days from now, we'll be back on Saturday or Sunday, depending on how the weekend shakes out. You can expect a brand new episode, but again, I hope that you enjoyed this one, and drop me that message, talkshownerd@gmail.com. Also, comment on YouTube. You can find me on the Blaster app if you haven't downloaded it yet for your iPhone. Blaster app, all one word, do that. I'm putting up Blast on an almost daily basis. Quick audio comments, 2 or 3 minutes about things that are happening throughout the day. A lot of stuff about Star Wars. You can find me on Blaster at Jon, Jon Justice. Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, Zach. It was great to hear from you guys last night. I'll have that audio for this weekend's show. I appreciate you guys using the app. But you can get it in the App Store. You can share it to Twitter and Facebook. But you can find me, My Nerd World, on Blaster, Jon Justice on Blaster, and then on Twitter, at Jon Jon Justice, or at the My Nerd World on Twitter. All right, I'm gonna go get some lunch and watch some reaction videos on YouTube and geek out on a little bit of Star Wars for the rest of the day. Talk to you guys again coming up this weekend, and thank you so much for downloading the show.
The Force will be with you. Always.
My Nerd World.